It's official. The dreams of some and the nightmares of others came to an end at the hands of Shams Charania at 8:01 a.m. this morning, Arizona time, as he tweeted that the Brooklyn Nets and Kevin Durant have reached an agreement to stay together, and the Phoenix Suns are left holding the bag. Welcome in. It's PHNX Suns Live, an emergency podcast edition. I'm your host, Greg Esposito, as always joined by Saul Bookman. Saul, how are you on this somber of mornings?
Oh, man. Leave it to the East Coasters to try and wake us up at 8 o'clock in the morning to try and do an emergency pod. That's the only thing that's irritated me more than KD and this whole charade for the last 3 or 4 months. So, it was kind of expected, right? I know Flex has been out there saying that, it's not dead at multiple times in this. And I'm definitely not going to bash Flex. I think he's done a great job over the last couple of years of being on top of things and ahead of things. But, once the DeAndre Ayton trade went through or signing happened, I just felt like the chips were stacked against them. You had a valuable asset in some regards to other teams that you could have maneuvered to try and get a superstar, quote unquote, that the Nets wanted to seek in return for Kevin Durant. And once DA signed, you knew you limited yourself to at least January 14th or 15th. And I felt like it wasn't going to happen this summer. I really did. And we actually had people that kind of backed that up, and we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, look, I think some of us always knew this was a long shot, that we knew it was going to take Kevin Durant acting out of character and point blank saying, I will not play for the Nets. The only place I'll go to the Phoenix Suns. And I just never thought he would get to that point. We talked about it on the show for the last month.
He got close.
Was the only way.
He got close a couple times. It looked like he was like, oh, is he going to do it?
Like we said, it was the politely nuclear option that he went. Yeah. And you always kind of felt like you could walk it back. Actually, Shane, if you have the mustache behind the Mac, if you have the tweet from Woj that you could pull up, people are saying, well, the Nets say. When I saw the tweet from Woj, I felt like that was the one that that really kind of showed that this was more than just the Nets posturing. It included the boardroom logo, which is KD's company. I feel like this is official. Supposedly they had a meeting in LA the other day, yesterday, with the general manager, Joe Tsai, and I'll read the whole thing. The following statement is released by the general manager, Sean Marks. Steve Nash and I, together with Joe Tsai and Claire Wu Tsai, met with Kevin Durant, Rich Kleinman in Los Angeles yesterday. We have agreed to move forward with our partnership. We are focusing on basketball with one collective goal in mind: build a lasting franchise to bring a championship to Brooklyn. And then it includes the Brooklyn Nets logo and the boardroom logo. This to me says, don't stop. No more, oh, well, maybe, or oh, if only. No, this is over. And there's some people say, well, the trade deadline. No, I think they're going to give it another year. Kyrie, KD, see how it plays out. And then it's next offseason where they have to make the decision on Kyrie long-term. Maybe that's when KD pushes again, but get over it. It's time to move on. And I know I'm skipping steps. That was easy enough for me to say. Skipping steps in the 5 stages of KD grief here, but it's time to move on. Fine. It's time for, I highly doubt, and we talked about this, I don't think James Jones was sitting on his hands, right? Thinking about other possibilities other than Kevin Durant. KD's gone now. Start looking at those moves. Are you a third team with the Jazz and Knicks? Are you just looking at a deal straight up with the Jazz, maybe for a Clarkson and a Bogdanovich? Is Harrison Barnes on the radar? Are the Kings willing to move him? Start visiting those other options now. This may be the best thing that could have happened, because we all thought this was going to be until training camp started, right? Instead, you get it 5 weeks before training camp. That's enough time to make moves, get a guy into camp, and have no issues at the early part of that season.
Well, in terms of the best news that could have happened, if Kevin Durant was going to come to the Suns, yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. But obviously the best ending would have been KD coming to the Suns.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the future of the Suns right now, like there's a lot to decide. There's a lot to figure out, and this is again, we talked about how good is James Jones if he was able to get a Kevin Durant in a situation like this. And listen, Kevin Durant's situation, I have to remind people, like it was different than most other free agency or trade scenarios when a player tries to force their way out, because a lot of those times the player doesn't have 4 years left on their contract. They're not coming to the end or the presumable close to the end of their career. When KD has 4 years left on his contract, he'll be 38 when his contract expires. So the Nets and KD seemingly had the same kind of advantage and disadvantage against each other. And so it would have had to have been a hell of a deal. It would have had to have Kevin Durant really push the issue harder than he did. And I think in KD's world, he went to his max. Mm-hmm. Like, I think he went to his max. He did his best effort. Obviously, it wasn't the nuclear option, as you put it, but it was the polite nuclear option, as you so put it. And I think, at the end of the day, we're going to find out if James Jones really did have a plan behind the KD stuff. Because, listen, the Suns are a good team. And they were a 64-win team as composed a year ago without maybe JaVale McGee. But we know that there's some things going on behind closed doors and some moves that we anticipate could be on their way that you expect will bolster this roster. They need another scorer. They need somebody more consistent, scoring wise, to be that third or fourth option when DA or CP3 just aren't clicking or Devin Booker isn't clicking. And they need another guy that can step in there and do a little bit of everything as well. And they need a power forward that can step up. You think Dario Saric might be that guy, but there's just so many unknowns with this team, especially how they bounced in the playoffs to the Dallas Mavericks. So James Jones has got his work cut out for him right now. I'm hoping that he was prepared. I'm sure he is. I'm sure he has a list. I'm sure he's already started greasing the wheels in other aspects. Hell, for all we know, he's already known that this might be happening for the last couple of weeks anyway, just because of the feel that he gets from the Brooklyn Nets. Shams has said multiple times that he feels based on talking to people that the Suns were kind of like in that third team that behind the Celtics and the Heat in the running for the KD. So if that's true and that's the same feeling that James Jones got, then he should be prepared and he should be ready to move on. So let's just hope that that's the case.
Look, I said this, I think it was 6 weeks ago on Twitter, that this may have actually been the worst thing for the fan base that could happen, because it gets your hopes up about some shiny new object, some superstar coming off a 64-win season. And now people are going to think that this was an abject failure of an offseason, when really, if I had told you with no KD, you signed Book to the Supermax, you brought DA back, and then if they make another move in the next 5-6 weeks that bolsters that rotation, everybody would have celebrated that going into this offseason. But all of a sudden, KD, if we don't get KD, it's KD or bust, and it's over. And here's a prime example of that, and not to pick on Rodrigo LB in the chat, but this is a prime example to that mindset for me. He says, if Kevin Durant says he wants to be on your team and your notable offseason additions after an embarrassing playoff collapse end up being Damian Lee and Jock Landale, you have failed. It's tough for me, because now it was KD or bust, right? And now it's bust, all right? But I don't think it's over where you can improve yourself and still be a title contender. Like that, to me, I don't think that window's closed, but many people are acting like it because of what amounts to one awful game at the most inadequate time for it to happen in that Dallas series, right? And we still don't fully understand how many guys had COVID, if they had COVID, what injuries were going on. Like there were other reasons. So it's a 64-win team. You can tinker with it and be a championship contender still. I don't think all hope is lost.
Yeah, I don't think it's just one game. I won't agree with that. Like, they got housed 4 out of the last 5 games. So trying to figure out what that was all about is obviously part of this scenario. I don't think it was just, they got mollywopped in game 7, sure, but they weren't close in the other 3 games that they lost either. So I feel like, listen, as a fan base, you get excited. It's okay to get excited. I actually take the opposite approach. I'm like, Kevin Durant wanted to come to the Suns. Like, that's a fantastic thing for you. Like, as an organization, it's a far cry from the I don't want to be here tweet from Eric Bledsoe. You know what I mean? Like, we've come such a long way in the last several years. And Devin Booker's a large part of that because he's doing a fantastic job of trying to recruit players. Because we remember, he said he wanted to build a super team here, and he's close to doing that. And shit, he might randomly do that organically if DA can step up to another level this year, and alongside Chris Paul, and if Mikal Bridges could take a jump at Cam Johnson. Like, the thing that we got to keep remembering is that DA, Cam Johnson, and Mikal Bridges have room for growth still, and they're still relatively young in their NBA careers. Like, if they make a significant jump, you got a starting 5 that can compete with anybody in the league. There's no doubt about that. It's just when you have a Kevin Durant there, you know what that's going to be. You'd rather take the certainty than the uncertainty. And I get that from people's perspective, but not all is lost at all. Again, it just depends on what James Jones is going to do from this point forward. Because if you're taking this team as they were last year and you move it forward, I can see why there might be some concern. But if you add a piece and you still get the growth, then this team's just as good as any other team in the league.
And look, you still have expiring contracts and Jay Crowder. We've gone through the list and the different machinations of the KD trades. You still have all those draft picks. There's multiple moves to be made here. And you didn't lose Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson in the process as well. So you still have those guys who can take another step. Mark Solera in the chat says, in theory, they should have lost to the Pelicans. No, Devin Booker was injured for a lot of that series. People forget that part of the Pelican series where D-Book wasn't there for a majority of it as well. Like, revisionist history right now with this team is strong in people. And I get it. That was such a disappointment, but best regular season team, they have a lot to build on here. I'm not going to freak out right now, but you know who's probably freaking out right now? Our friends at the DraftKings Sportsbook app, because they pulled in a hell of a lot of money on Kevin Durant, where his next team was. And I don't think most of it was going on the Brooklyn Nets. So they brought in some money. But if you want to bring in some money with the DraftKings Sportsbook app, download that app now. Use the promo code PHNX. Bet just $5 on any college football game. Yeah, that's right. College football is back. And you're going to get $200 in free bets. That's right. $200 in free bets instantly. That's code PHNX only at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Minimum age and eligibility required or restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
You know what, Espo? I've kind of missed you for the last week and a half. I haven't been on the show for a while. I was wondering if you're going to say you were coming live from the palatial closet in your house. I'm waiting for us to get to our palatial office setup because More Furniture absolutely hooked us up these last couple weeks, and so we can't wait to show off that stuff to you guys. We're hoping to bring in some guests. We're hoping to bring in maybe some players. We got some things cooking with Eddie Johnson, a lot of cool stuff. But More Furniture hooked our whole office up. It was pretty dope. We're so excited for you to see what our friends at More Furniture did for us. So, you can they have a major Labor Day sale going on. It's like 50% off a lot of their stuff. You can go to morefurniture.com and check it all out. Like, it's fantastic. And we can't wait to show off the new threads and gig out here
you
in
think
Phoenix.
They could refix up my closet here? I got space for one chair and nothing else. You think they can afford the one high chair, not like a child's high chair, a high desk chair that I'm sitting on? Literally, there's 5 feet of space in this thing. So.
I also think, going back to the KD stuff, like, listen, KD not coming to the Suns, sure, that hurts. But I think it's more important that KD didn't go to another contender.
Yes. Didn't go to another
Grizzlies,
Western Conference contender.
Yeah. I mean, the Grizzlies were in the running for it all of a sudden. Like, it just seemed like, okay, wait. Like, if he's not going to come to us, at least don't go back to the Warriors. Don't go to the Grizzlies. Like those two teams seem like they were kind of on the radar too. So I'm happy. Listen, I'm happy with the team. They're going to be fine. They're going to move forward. They're going to be completely fine. Now, again, the regular season 64 win thing is cool, but that's also like, at the end of the day, it's like kissing your sister. Like, what good is that going to do? You know what I mean? Like, you need to do it in the playoffs. So
step or regular.
Let's Jesus Christ.
It's different.
Okay. All right. Well, I like the Nuggets are good, the Clippers are good, the Warriors are good, the Grizzlies are good. The Pelicans may take a step up, but I'm still a little bit of a doubter in terms of Zion Williamson. I don't know what he's going to bring to the table and how consistent he's going to be and how reliable he's going to be. So the Suns are in the mix as a top 5 team in the Western Conference alone. Definitely top 10 team in the NBA completely. And so I think if things go right, they make a move or two, they're right back up to a top tier 1 or 2 team. Right now, I think they're probably a little bit behind the Warriors. And who knows what the Nuggets or Clippers are going to look like after long layoffs by Kawhi and Jamal Murray.
Look, people forget this club skipped steps, right? They went from not in the playoffs for 10 years to straight to the finals, right? That rarely, if ever, happens. Usually these teams have to have some disappointment in the playoffs, some battle testing, right? That's what last year was. You take that lump, you get that experience. I think they're better suited now to go up against a tougher Western Conference than they had been, because they know it doesn't just come easy, that there will be moments where you're going to take a punch in the mouth from a team like a Luka-led Dallas Mavericks, and you're going to have to figure out how to bounce back. Things came too easy for this club the last 2 years, and I like that. I like the fact that they got battle tested going into this year, that I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The West is a hell of a lot tougher than it has been the last 2 years. That's just a fact, which means the Suns are going to have to be better, right? But even if they take a 10-game slide back from where they were last year, that's still 54 wins in a tough conference where I still think that keeps you in the top 4 there. And that really all you care about is, do I have home court, right? Do I have home court for that first or second round? Because all bets are off once you get into conference finals, NBA finals. The home court means a little less. But early on, you want that home court. So I just want them to finish in the top 4 of the West. And I think if they add a backup point guard, another power forward, they're right there to do that and make noise. What I'm predicting, though, we're going to see a lot of moves over the next 2-3 weeks in the NBA, because basically we had off-season constipation around the league where everybody was sitting there with, waiting for the KD move to happen before anything else took place. So I think you're going to see, Donovan Mitchell get moved out of Utah. I think you're going to see some of these second-tier guys start to get moved around, who may have been pieces that people were talking about as third teams involved in bigger deals. We're going to start to see some things move, and I think the Suns will be right in the middle of that movement if the right pieces are available.
I agree. I don't know if it's going to be the next 2 or 3 weeks, but I would assume relatively shortly some moves have to happen. Like, again, I will also say this, man. Like, it would not shock me if James Jones did not make a move. It wouldn't shock me at all.
In the next 5 weeks.
In the next 5 to 6 weeks. Like, it wouldn't shock me at all. Like, now during the season, obviously, like, you don't know how things are going to play out and how players are going to perform and stuff like that. But I mean, Jay Crowder to me right now is just, he sticks out like a sore thumb in terms of what could be on the horizon in trade scenarios for him. And then obviously draft picks. That always comes to fruition, especially considering James Jones doesn't give a shit about draft picks. So, I think there's some pieces there to be moved, but who knows when that's going to happen. I wouldn't expect a huge deal or anything like that. The biggest deal I think that could possibly come our way might be somebody like a Jordan Clarkson. But again, that's something that we've speculated. It's not necessarily something that I've heard through the grapevine or anything like that. I mean, yeah, we're just connecting the dots, trying to figure out what players may be available. It does hurt though, and somebody had mentioned it earlier. I think it was Hello, like the fact that Christian Wood went to the Mavs, the fact that Jeremy Grant went to the Blazers, the fact that DeJounte Murray, of all players, for what the Spurs got in return for him and went to the Hawks. That one's the one that probably hurts the most, because that is a guy that you could easily see fitting into this lineup and really producing at a high level. And the fact that the Suns weren't able to get a guy like that's a little sour, especially, the Hawks have improved greatly over the course of this past offseason. You hope that the Suns would do the same thing. But again, like, the Suns have other valuable pieces that they didn't want to sacrifice because maybe they saw more potential growth in the future, and that's why they sat still on some of these things. Plus the KD thing, obviously.
One move I'd like to see happen, and it's an internal move, is I would really like to see them extend Cam Johnson, right? Whether you're going to eventually use him in trades or not, and you want to keep him as part of the future, having him signed long term is beneficial in both situations. So, and it squashes any kind of hard feelings maybe that he was mentioned in those trades. I don't worry about Mikal. Mikal's was laughing it up on Twitter about all that stuff. So, I don't feel too bad about where Mikal is, but I'd like to see Cam get that extension.
I love Cam. It depends on what that extension is going to look like for me, because he is a valuable asset right now. Because, as you approach that trade deadline, he becomes more and more valuable, and depending on his play, will determine whether or not, his value in the extension is worthy or not, and what his value might be to other teams as well, and what you can get in return for him. So I think that the Suns, I wouldn't be shocked if they extended him, but I don't know. If I was James Jones, I would wait. Honestly.
I think it increases his trade value, because if you have him under a team friendly, and that's the key, it can't be like, I want more than Mikal Bridges got. Like, that'd be asinine. But
absolutely asinine.
Like Gaines says, if it's like a 5-year, $75 million, where it's good for Cam to secure his bag, but it's team friendly too. I like that kind of idea. Get him in the fold, make him more palatable if you decide to move on. But I still think Cam has unbelievable offensive potential there, and defensively, he's decent as well. He could very well be your answer at that forward position in place of Jake Crowder. And then it's okay, how do we use draft picks and other things to fill out the bench? Like, I hate to move on from the KD stuff so fast, but this is the reality of it. These are the conversations and the thought process and everything that needs to be going on at the training facility where the offices are. James Jones and his guys are having these conversations right now. And sure, we could sit here and we could cry about KD and how, if only he'd come here, he would have had free OGs for life,
man,
like they had guaranteed.
Out.
But I think it's right now it's better to look forward. By the way, if you want some OGs to make you feel a little bit better in this situation,
of which they doubled down too, by the way, OGs actually backed up our tweet. So
oh no, they were all in. I mean, Kevin Durant was going to get a boatload of OGs, and if you want a boatload of OGs, we have free stuff just for you. Enter the Flavoring Life sweepstakes. One winner will receive 3. Yeah, that's 3 bags of OGs, including orange creamsicle, which is my favorite, and tropical flavors, an OG's hat, a PHNX shirt of your choice, a PHNX annual membership. I mean, this is better than the kind of extension Cam Johnson's going to get. This is just big time here. Sign up at gophnx.com, click the join tab, and then click the link.
What's going on there behind you, buddy?
What was that?
What's going on there?
I knocked my light over because I got so excited about OGs, and then I was fixing it. Check out OGs online at ogsbrands.com and on Instagram at ogsbrands. You can also find their products at your local dispensary. Must be 21 or older to purchase. We highly recommend doing that. OGs. I probably am going to need an OGs and a Four Peaks beer just to feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I've kind of stepped up my game a little bit. I was taking the little micro doses, and now I've gone to the big boy edibles. So
You've taken the macro dose when you just melt the micros and you just
you
eat the
just
whole thing.
eat the whole thing as one
Yeah.
chew. But listen, like one of the things that's pretty cool about all this is like how much passion the Suns fans have had about KD. Like hell, fuck, I was definitely on the train. I feel like I was one of the ones that was spearheading the train at the start of this and uploading different graphics. We were going to create him a game room. We were going to take an Arizona tour with KD. We are going to give him his own High Times OGs magazine. Like we were all in on some KD. But now that ship has sailed, it's all good. I think one of the things that I love about this fan base is that they are so passionate, and they really, really want to win a championship. I mean, I can't undersell that enough. Or oversell that enough. And people are upset because now they feel like, okay, are we back in purgatory right now? But I don't think that's the case. I think we're going to be just fine. This team it's a very good basketball team. It really is. You just got to trust that, and more importantly, you got to trust that the players that you have paid, especially Da and Mikal, will take that necessary leap this upcoming season because they have to. And I will say this, if DA thought that there was a lot of pressure on being the number one pick before, just wait until this season if he doesn't perform. He's going to get a shitstorm of emotion from a lot of Suns fans. He's got to step up his game. Cam Johnson, he's got to stop being so damn erratic. And that's my biggest fear with Cam Johnson. You don't know what you're going to get from game to game. He's a little bit more consistent offensively than Jay Crowder, but he's wildly inconsistent in that consistency. So one game he'll get you 8 to 10 points, and then the next game he'll get you 20, and then he'll go back to 4 or 6, and you're like, "What are you doing, buddy?" And so guys like that have to take that big step up, and that's my expectation and hope for next season. It's not necessarily who they're going to bring in; it's what are these three guys? The three musketeers is what I'm going to start calling them, I guess. What are they going to do to take their games to another level? Because that's the absolute necessary thing for this franchise to move forward and become a legit contender in a loaded Western Conference this upcoming season, because 64 wins ain't happening again. I'll tell you that right now. There's no chance they win 64 games again this year. But 56 should be a valid expectation because of the way the West is loaded.
Oh, let's be honest. You don't need to win 64. You need to win 54, 56, and then the 16 in the playoffs are what matter. Win those 16. That's the goal here. Look, they could take steps back in the regular season. They could finish 3rd or 4th in the West, but the goal is being ready by the playoffs and winning those 16 games, right? Being prepared as a complete team to do that, So, people in the chat, some people are really, really holding on to hope, saying that this is just crap. It's more smoke screens. This is not that.
No, it's not.
At this point, give it up, right? Like it's all right to say it didn't happen.
It's over.
Right? It's over. Close the door. This one's in the old deep freeze, as Al McCoy said, and it's all right. You said purgatory, and I don't want to come at you for that per se, but to think that this team is in basketball purgatory, you must have forgot basketball hell where we were for 10 years, and then basketball purgatory, which was that bubble year where you're winning 34 games. We're not backsliding in Phoenix much.
That wasn't purgatory. That was the abyss, is what that was. Okay, like purgatory right now is like, hey, like we may be a contender, but we might not be, and we don't know. So we're kind of in limbo, right? Like that's to me, that's kind of purgatory.
Okay. We're in the waiting room of the NBA finals.
Yeah, and you don't know which doctor you're about to get. You're like, man, I hope this next one's good, and I'm not going to some quack. Also, like behind closed doors, and even on this show, I have heard multiple times that this wasn't going to happen from a reputable source out in Brooklyn, by which we have a video of when he was on our show. Scoop B literally had his prediction on what was about to happen.
If you ask me today, I'd say that those two would remain in a Brooklyn Nets uniform because I think that they fit. They fit. I feel like every star player has a fit on their roster. I think that the two of them have a fit, and I think that, well, I know that it's a 4-year partnership, and the job isn't finished. We just finished year 3. Year 4 has some new questions.
So Scoop, honestly, he's been pounding the table on this quite a bit about the fact that he didn't think that any move was going to be made with Kevin Durant, and he was right, obviously. He's been on that train for a while, and he's been taking a lot of bullets for that too. So he's the one that behind closed doors has been telling me some of the stuff that was going on with the Nets and stuff like that, and I appreciate his insight on some of that stuff.
I mean, that was a full month ago. I mean, we're talking a full 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he was calling the Kyrie stuff too, and he did take a lot of heat. Look, the other thing, and I'll just say this, I'm going to address this head on because Flex is being brought up in the chat. People are conveniently forgetting that Flex also said it's the Suns or the Nets. So he wasn't wrong. It's the Nets, all right? He said it was one of two. He's either going back to the Nets or he's coming to Phoenix. Well, guess what? He went back to the Nets. Now it's time to process your grief, go through the stages, accept where you are, and look forward to what should be another damn entertaining Suns season, and some moves that are yet to be made here.
Yeah, for sure. And if you disagree with us, come say it to our fucking face. You can come see us that last Wednesday at Four Peaks.
Nice.
Next
That's
week.
One of the most aggressive ad transitions we've ever had on the program.
Our monthly last Wednesday is next week. Come join us all day at Four Peaks on August 31st for a good fun, for a good time, fun, beer, food. They got fantastic food too. You can check out their Yelp rating. It's I think it's over 4.5, which is pretty solid. Speaking of last Wednesday, we'll be announcing our next sweepstakes winner then. Enter to win the Toast of the Month sweepstakes for a chance to win a $50 Four Peaks gift card, a PHNX shirt of your choice, and a PHNX annual membership. Go to gophnx.com or click on the link in the show notes for details. Also, major alert. I don't know if we have a graphic. That's fine if we don't. But we have a huge sale going on today. You can cop one of these shirts for almost 50% off today, all the way through Friday. The sale, it's our summer sale. We're trying to get rid of a lot of our merch, get it out of our locker, so that way we can bring in some new, fresh stuff. We got some pretty cool things in store for this upcoming year. So check out the PHNXLocker.com. You can buy all the gear, load up on all your Suns merch, load up on any other team merch. It's going to be fantastic.
Go pick up the Valley Stickos shirt. It's my favorite, one of my favorites we have in there. It came out very late last playoff run, and that was that was part of the problem. Go get yours, though, today. Take advantage of that sale. Somebody brings up in the chat, and forgive me, I'll scroll up here to find out who it was. Somebody asked about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Leo Jones in the chat says he thinks it's gettable. Is that a name that intrigues you? Because we know Sam Presti basically gets more excited by first-round draft picks than anything else in his life. That's his kink. So if you're James Jones, you've got some pieces. You've got the draft picks. Do you make some kind of offer for a guy like that potentially to solidify your point guard position? I
love SGA. I don't know if his salary is in the realm of possibility because he's on a max. And so that's a difficult one to try and swing. But I do love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And if you're talking about a replacement for Chris Paul, inevitably, he would be great to bring in and couple with Devin Booker. That would also make you one of the more athletic defensive teams in the league. I mean, lengthwise. I mean, Shai's got crazy length. Mikhail's got crazy length. So that would be a nice replacement as well for like a guy like Jay Crowder. If you were to lose him defensively, Shai's a really solid defender. So I would love that move. To quote Kevin Garnett, anything is possible. Sam Presti loves his first round pick. But if you bring in SGA, that probably means you can't extend Cam Johnson. Well, he'd probably be part of the deal. You'd probably send Cam and a bunch of first round picks to OKC. You're gonna do Cam like that? I love Cam, but people forget that you got to give something to get something, right? I know. I mean, that's a rule in life. You got to give something to get something. An expiring contract with Jay Crowder, multiple draft picks, call it a day.
Yeah, no, you need more than just a $10 million expiring contract,
True.
so look, I get it. It's going to take time for people to get over this, but you got 5 weeks and then buckle in. We're going to be in for another very interesting season here. It'll be very, very unique to watch what's going to happen. And it's going to be fun. I get it. It's going to be fun. It's not going to be last year. You're not going to run roughshod over everybody, but it's going to be an 82 game gauntlet. And then it's going to be a playoffs like I think we haven't seen in a very long time in Phoenix. Plus, hey, they're going to announce it later today, but we talked about it yesterday on the show. You're getting this purple sunburst jersey back too. So the greatest of all time is back. I knocked my lamp over again. I got to stop. I got to stop being so Italian and swinging my arms around.
Stop flailing around. Yeah. Real quick on Twitter right now, and Shane just shared this in our chat. Patrick Beverly say y'all can sit and don't say nothing, but that ain't cool. It's dudes with families out here who haven't got a job because of this KD shit. And to be on and off ain't cool. Blessing, gang. And then Kevin Durant actually replied, #blame KD. People like to hate on KD, but I like his Twitter game. I like the fact that if he would have come to the Valley, he would have been a nice little change of pace. I think him and Mikhail would have had a lot of fun on Twitter. That would have been a nice little treat for us. But the dream is over. And dreaming was free this summer, folks. It was free, and we took full advantage of it. And then
it had a cost. It came at a cost. So all this bitterness that people are going to have for the next few weeks because it didn't happen is the cost there. It wasn't completely free. Let's be honest. But look,
it was free for me because I didn't. I don't wear this shit. To bed.
I hope not. Let's. Actually, I don't want to know what you wear to bed. Let's leave it at
I don't wear anything. I go straight nude. So. Let's go.
Great. We've got off the cliff. It took us 38 minutes and 2 seconds, but hey, we went off the cliff. People are asking, should we do an afternoon episode that's Trade Machine Tuesday, all trade options now that the KD thing is off the table?
Well, I will leave that up to you, good sir, because as you know, I've been swamped doing this office stuff. We're just lucky that this happened in the morning so I could jump on finally. I missed everybody. I missed you. But yeah, I'll leave that up to you and Lindsay. I think Lindsay is finally awakening right now. So.
I think we just got the text that she is awake.
She is alive.
Is there a chance that we could just get Gerald to do it from Hawaii and you and I both can take the afternoon off? I'll text him and see if he wants to do some trades. Honestly, I think it's like 2 a.m. in Hawaii. It's something ridiculous early there, but
I don't think the missus would be too happy with that. So
it's
not the missus yet.
Don't say that. My bad. Let's not start that rumor.
The significant other, I should say.
I'll see what we can do and see if we can get you that. One last thing to remind you, if you are going to be doing anything with the remainder of your summer, even if it's going to be going out and drinking away your sorrows because KD isn't here, make sure to get your COVID-19 vaccines. They're free for everyone 5 and older. Those 12 and older are also eligible for a booster. Visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for a location near you. Saul, we are inching closer to being able to do this from our new studios. I look forward to it because I've done this either from my closet or from my office desk for the last week, but that'll be very fun. Thanks again to our friends at More Furniture for all the new furniture that will be in our new set. Thank you all for joining us. I know it was an early impromptu episode of the show, but thanks for spending your last 40 minutes with us talking Katie and the sadness that is the fact that Kevin Durant will remain in Brooklyn, according to the thumbs of Shams Charania and the thumbs of one Woj. We're sorry. Let's not keep the hope alive. It's time to put that to bed. And
turn out the lights. The party's over. Let's go.
You got to sing it. Turn out the lights. The party's over.
Yeah.
You can put this one in the deep freeze. Kevin Durant not coming to Phoenix, but we will continue to come to you every day, 2 p.m. with Suns talk that you need and that you want. we'll be talking probably some of the new, some of the throwback jersey and many other things. If we come to you this afternoon, it'll be a Trade Machine Tuesday as well. If not, we'll be back on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Just look for us on our Twitter at PHNX_Suns. You can follow Lindsay at Lindsay Smith AZ. Tell her good morning because she did just wake up. You can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. The underscore is there to fit all the OGs that he gets now that Kevin Durant isn't accepting it. I don't have to wear an Ewok costume, which means you can follow me at Espo and not be afraid you're going to have to see some of that crazy shit. And just remember,
Halloween's around the corner.
Because it's over doesn't mean the journey wasn't fun. Ahoy, hoy, everybody.